Hello and welcome to Only Stupid Answers. This is the show where we talk about movies, TV shows, comic books, peacemakers. I'm your host, DJ Woldridge. With me is Roxy Stryer. Hello,
Hey,
Roxy.
DJ.
How do you feel about peacemakers?
What do you mean?
How
The
do you feel
makers of
about
peace?
the makers of peace? How do you feel about them?
How do I feel about the show?
Sure. However that question makes you
DJ,
feel.
what
How
do
do you
you
feel
mean?
about it? How
What
do
a
you feel about
start.
peacemakers?
What a start.
Yeah.
People who make peace, A+?
A plus.
How do you
And
feel about peacemakers?
peacemakers, I don't think there's enough peacemakers in the world. There might be a few too many peacemakers, like the character in the world. But are they as funny and entertaining as this peacemaker? That's the question. That's the question.
John Cena's 1-for-1, man. I mean, he is, whoo, baby.
He's good. Did we talk about somebody talk? There was or maybe I just saw there was like a poll of like who's the best wrestlers turn actors. And I think the poll decided, this might have been on like Discussing News or something like that. And the poll decided that Dave Bautista was the best wrestler turn actor. And I think John Cena was 3. It was Dave Bautista, Dwayne Johnson, and then John Cena.
Do
And I
you
want
agree
to
with
know if you
that?
have thoughts. I agree with Dave Bautista because
He's so good.
he's so good, and he does he it seems like, and I this is gonna, it seems like he really cares. Like if you see stuff of like him in Blade Runner 2049 or even Army of the Dead, which I didn't particularly like, but I think he's good in. He does. Oh, and even what was it, Glass Onion? That was the Knives Out sequel. He good. Like, and it seems like he really cares about being good. It's less about like I'm gonna be a movie star, more about like I want to be good. And I think he does a good job. Oh, and what was the M Night Shyamalan Knock at the Cabin? He's really good in that. He's good. Yeah, I might at this point, if you're just talking about acting ability, I think John Cena and Dwayne Johnson are a toss-up, although Dwayne Johnson's doing the Smashing Machine with one of them Safdie brothers. And so that appears to be a big swing on his part to be like, hey, Oscar maybe? But what do you think about wrestlers turned actors?
I think all 3 of them are excellent. I think that that's one of the skills that a lot of wrestlers have, is that they're amazing performers.
Yeah.
We also saw like Sasha Banks. We've seen a lot of actors over the years. And I think that the most natural fit for them is action movies and
Yeah.
action shows. But so like a superhero show like Peacemaker makes perfect sense. And I'm excited to see The Rock transform. I have never seen him do anything like that. So we'll see
Yeah.
after that. But as of now, I think that when it comes to drama, intensity, Batista takes the cake. And when it comes to comedy, I think Cena takes the cake. I think that Cena's comedic timing is like mwah to me.
Very good. We're going to be talking about more Mr. John Cena as we're talking about the premiere of season 2 of Peacemaker today. But before we get into our main topic, of course, we like to read some of your comments from previous videos or the podcast. If you listen to this on Spotify, you can leave comments, including just like Lucas Hendricks, who left this comment on one of our podcast episodes. Best comic book show on the internet. Thank you. We talk about more than just comics, but I appreciate the compliment.
Well, comic book show, I think, entails a lot. Because, like, movies, a lot of nerd movies we talk about are.
We talk about that, and now I just realized I have to see what this was a comment on. Maybe he was talking about the movie or the show we were talking about, and not us. And I'm taking, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. You know what? I'm just gonna. You can correct us, Lucas Hendricks, but also I'm just gonna take the compliment. We are the best comic book show on the internet. Thank you.
That's what I heard.
We also have these from our previous video. This was us talking about Brand New Day, and which we got some news of this week that we're going to be talking about. Lego Monster 21 says, I'm going to pray that Daredevil's going to show up in Brand New Day, just like I'm going to pray that Spider-Man shows up in Born Again Season 2. Also regarding Sadie Sinka's Gwen, if it does turn out to be true, it'll be really funny that all 3 of live-action Gwens were played by redheads. That would be funny. And I will say it is much more likely and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it'd be much easier for Daredevil to show up in a Spider-Man movie than Spider-Man to show up in a Daredevil show. That's logistically, I wouldn't hold my breath on Spider-Man showing up in Daredevil season 2.
I'm also not entirely sure about the natural hair color of all of those Gwens.
Yeah. So we've had Bryce Dallas Howard, who I believe's redhead.
Redhead.
Emma Stone. Wait, isn't
I don't
Emma
know.
Stone's a natural blonde? And
I'm
the
not
joke.
sure.
I think the story was, and there's no way for us to confirm this. I want to say that Emma Stone is a natural blonde, but got famous having auburn red hair.
Right. Let me
and
Google.
Went back to her blonde for Gwen Stacy.
That's what I thought too, but I'm not sure. Emma Stone, natural hair color. She's natural blonde, but is best known for auburn hair.
Yeah. So yes, gotcha. Because there's a few people that made that comments, and turns out that's not the correct. And I'm just going to reiterate it. I said in the episode, I think casting Sadie Sink as Gwen Stacy would be just. I don't know that introducing Gwen Stacy at this point is interesting to me. But hey, man, we'll see. We'll let them cook. We'll find out. PK Ton 509 says, is there any chance they're holding off announcing the big bad because it's Kingpin and they don't want to spoil Daredevil Born Again season 2? Same way they haven't announced Daredevil. So Roxy, I'm going to throw this to you. What do you think at this point the likelihood of Daredevil and Kingpin showing up in this movie is?
Well, that's not the question they just asked.
That's not the question they asked, but it is the question I am asking you.
I'm going to answer their question first.
Okay, fine.
And then I will get to yours, DJ,
Gotcha.
because I'm a person of the people.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's why we love you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just like, for the first time ever thinking about this live.
Yeah.
It never crossed my mind that Kingpin could be the big bad for this movie. I haven't read Brand New Day. Is Kingpin the big bad in Brand New Day?
This has very little to do with Brand New Day. Brand New Day was like an overarching, less of a narrative and more like a brand pivot. It followed, I think it was Mary Jane. Mary Jane made a deal with the literal devil. That for some reason what Mephisto wanted was Peter and Mary Jane's marriage, and that's how everybody forgot that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So the only connective tissue is people forgetting. Okay. In this case, they're forgetting Peter Parker exists, and so there was a bunch of different. I want to say it was either weekly or it was 3 issues a month. It was almost weekly Spider-Man books. And so they threw everything out there. There wasn't like an overarching big bad. It was more just a push of like, we're going to put out a Spider-Man book every week. And now he's no longer married, which nobody really wanted except like the editors at Marvel. And so there wasn't like one big bad in that story. Yeah. But I do know, for me, and I think this is probably true of a lot of people, the reason there's that big push for Spider-Man to face off with Kingpin.
Street level,
yes. But also, not only was the Kingpin originally introduced as a Spider-Man character, but also, if you grew up watching the Spider-Man animated series, Kingpin was kind of like the overarching big bad for that show. He was, especially the early seasons, he was like responsible for a lot of Peter's antagonists. And so if you grew up with that show and have a lot of nostalgia for that show in your brain, Kingpin is a Spider-Man villain, right? And not only that, you've got a good one.
Is that you, DJ?
I think that's for a lot of people. I think that's why there's a big push. That is me. More so having just rewatched it for Spider-Versity. It's one of those like, it would be really cool, and being reminded of like, wow, Kingpin's a big part of the show. It's like, it would be cool to see Tom Holland's Peter Parker square off with Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. That would be really cool. And I think it is one of those things where if you got something that's working, use it. You got a Kingpin that people like, throw him in there. Why not? I,
coming from a completely different place from you, obviously, having not watched that show and not thinking about Kingpin as a Spidey villain, I still think it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good sign, is that it appeals to the me's and the you's of the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to do that, but I do think that would be cool. I think that right now Marvel is erring on the side of load up. We need the money. We need the surprises. We want those moments. And so the fact that they announced Punisher, I think very likely means that we will get an appearance from Daredevil and likely from Kingpin as well, now that I've heard what you just said. So I think that this is a real possibility. Yeah.
I even think it could be as simple because the only issue I see with that, to who was the previous comment? It was to Lego Monster. Don't hold your breath on Spider-Man showing up in Daredevil, because that's not only do you have the logistics of Marvel making a deal with Sony for Spider-Man to show up in their TV show that didn't Daredevil. Born Again season 1 didn't do well for them as far as we know about anything, any streaming ratings ever. And also, not only
no,
that,
I think the same thing as you do on that, DJ. I don't think it's going to go both ways.
Yeah. And then they'd also have to pony up Tom Holland money. That's not going to happen. Right. So if it's going to happen, it's much easier in Sony Spider-Man movie. But then you run into the issue of saying, okay, so are we not going to resolve the Kingpin story in Daredevil? And I think what you can do is you could resolve the Kingpin mayor arc in Daredevil, and then have him show up at the beginning of Spider-Man.
You mean in Daredevil season 2?
Daredevil Born Again season 2. Wrap up the Mayor Fisk arc.
And that's coming out before Spidey?
It is, I believe. Because I believe Spidey comes out. Let's see.
Do the Googles. Do the Googles.
But let's say, so Spider-Man Brand New Day is July 31st.
Okay.
Of next year. Daredevil Born Again season 2 release date is supposed to be, I don't think they've confirmed, and this is the AI review, so who knows how accurate it is, but is March 2026.
Okay. So as of now, it seemed as if yes.
Yeah, but we know how, I mean, originally I think Doomsday was supposed to come out before Brand New Day. So all this stuff is up in the air. It can flip around. But let's say it does. You could wrap up the Mayor Fisk arc, Daredevil Born Again season 2, and open Spider-Man with dealing with Fisk. For example, the Spider-Man PS4 video game, the opening level is you take care of Kingpin, and then Kingpin being off the map creates a power vacuum that all the main villains of the story show up in. So you could, Daredevil deals with Kingpin because Kingpin is Daredevil's guy, but then you have an opening sequence where Spider-Man deals with Kingpin, and him being gone is what causes the rest of the issues for the rest of the movie. So you kind of have your cake and eat it too.
Has Spider-Man had any Kingpin references in the movies that we've seen?
No. Kingpin had a reference in Born Again talking about guys that can climb up walls.
Yeah.
But no. And as far as I remember, the Tom Holland movies have not had any Kingpin references. Fun fact, after Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 with Tobey Maguire, MTV had a fully CG animated Spider-Man show that was supposed to be in the same continuity, and Kingpin shows up in that, and that Kingpin was voiced by Michael Clark Duncan, who played Kingpin in the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. I guess my only point being, people like to see Spider-Man fight Kingpin. I'm one of those people. I say put him in the movie, even if it's in the opening act. Put him in there. I'll be happy.
Do you think that would make, and honestly, even just with the announcement of Punisher, what do you think is required viewing for Spider-Man Brand New Day?
Hopefully none of it. Hopefully none of it, because you're talking right now, we're talking Spider-Man. So we have the 3 previous Spider-Man movies, possibly even some of those Avengers, Infinity War, Endgame, whatever. If you're talking about Punisher shows, I'd like to think, so like in Spider-Man the animated series, when Punisher shows up in that, you don't need to know, you just need to know what the show tells you about Punisher. One presumes Punisher's running out punishing people, but he's here now. And if, I think they do their job, hopefully should just be like, here's Punisher. And all you need to know about him is what we tell you in this movie. But if you want to know more, there's 2 seasons of his own show plus 2 seasons of a Daredevil show that you can follow up on. Because I think that was one of the things that made the Marvels tricky was you had to watch Captain Marvel, you had to watch WandaVision, completely unrelated to any of the Marvel family, and then you had to watch Miss Marvel, and it's like that's a lot. That's a lot to ask of.
Yeah.
But I think Punisher's iconic enough. You could just say, "Here's Punisher." People are like, oh, "Okay, Punisher."
I do think it's somewhat reasonable to require somebody to watch every movie in a franchise with the name of the person who stars in it. So, like, I think it's okay in a Spider-Man 4
Yeah,
that for Spider-Man 1 through 3 are required viewing. I think
yeah,
that's okay. I think that too, if we're bringing in Punisher and Daredevil and Kingpin, which I don't know if we're doing,
yeah.
um, it, like they really need to kind of cater to the masses and not expect everybody to have known who those characters are at all.
To your point of reference, I know you and I differ on this. I like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness
Right.
quite a bit. But one of my main issues with it is it really expects you, it doesn't do anything to be like, hey, here's what happened on WandaVision, or like, here's where Wanda's at. It's just
Totally.
like, and it's like, you can't assume that of people. Like, you can't assume they watched a show. Like, you should at least have a line or two to within as if I think any for me I think any of these projects you should go. I think you're right in saying it is reasonable to presume that if you're making the fourth installment of a movie that the people have watched the previous three.
Right.
Beyond that, assume this is their first time seeing if Punisher or Hulk or Kingpin or whatever have not shown up in any of those previous three movies. Assume that this is this audience's first time ever meeting this character.
Right.
And to go back to the animated series reference, when Punisher shows up in Spider-Man the animated series, there's not a Punisher the animated series. So they are under obligation to be like, here's who this character is. Here's
Right.
who he is, here's his deal, and here's how Spider-Man feels about it. You need to do the same thing in
Because
this movie.
otherwise, it's a little bit lazy, and we do see it all the time where they don't actually introduce characters that are coming over, and it's like, man, I just feel awful for the people who just wanted to go watch this movie
Yeah.
and didn't. And yeah, I'm with you obviously on the Doctor Strange thing, but it is kind of wild how many movies have required WandaVision to be watched. Like,
WandaVision of all of them. Not
I
that we
didn't
have anything
know.
against it, but it's like that's the
Right.
cornerstone.
That's like I did not realize that WandaVision was going to be such an essential
Yep.
watch for the MCU. I feel like they should have made that clear.
Yeah. By the way, I know it feels like we're opening with this because of COVID, but actually, it's going to be the most important one moving
But
forward.
we're going to reference this until you die. Like,
Oh my god!
and not just in our movies, but also in our we're going to have a whole ass spinoff called Agatha. All
Agatha,
along.
and they're doing Vision Quest, which is
Vision
another
Quest.
spinoff.
Right,
Yeah.
like this is must see TV.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Yeah. And I think another point of reference for that is I think people could argue, well, like, in Superman, you don't really get Guy Gardner's backstory, Mr. Terrific's backstory. No, you don't. And you don't need that. But what you do get is an understanding of who the Justice Gang is in relation to Superman. We live in a world of super people. These are three of them. We're not going to go into each of their individual backstories, but we're in a world of super people. Here they are. And they came into existence because Maxwell Lord is paying for them. And here's how they differ from Superman. So it does give you the tools. It doesn't stop the movie to be like, hey, here's Hawk Girl is from Thanagar. It doesn't do that because it doesn't need to, but it does give you the information you need to understand how they work within this world in this movie.
We're
Right?
also all on the same page, though.
Yeah.
We only know as much as we all know about who
Yeah.
this guy is and who this Hawk Girl is.
Yeah.
It's not like you're sitting there, DJ, and you're like, well, this Guy Gardner, I've seen 15 movies of his and you
Yeah.
missed them. So I guess I have a lot of FOMO in life, fear of missing out. And
Yeah.
I really don't like what was the Star Wars movie where something happens and then afterwards everybody was like, if you didn't watch.
Oh, I think it's Solo where they're like Darth Maul's back, and you're like, what?
It was either Clone Wars or Rebels or whatever, and everybody afterwards like, did you not get it, Rox? And I was like, God damn it, I hate not understanding the deep cuts.
That's interesting. I do think Star Wars weirdly struggled with that more Yeah, Star Wars, Disney Star Wars really has some identity issues about like what it wanted to be and try and do, because it's like the slate is clean, we're starting over, but also here's a reference to this cartoon. It's like, wait, but you said the slate was clean. Hold on.
And this cartoon season 4 from 10 years ago or
Yeah,
whatever. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, no. So it's not just the point of that is it's not just a Marvel issue that we're talking about. It's also DC and Star Wars and whatever. Where I feel like sometimes we get a little not just lazy, but I feel like people are so deep in these worlds that
yeah.
are working on these projects that they forget like my little sister should be able to go to this movie
Hmm.
and be very clear.
Yeah, yeah. The good thing is, yeah, especially with Punisher, it's like, oh, he's another one of these vigilantes, but he's okay with killing people. It's a really simple, like that's an easy in. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see where this goes. We have some news about, yeah, that'll just be my transition. We'll transition right into it. We got some more Spider-Man Brand New Day casting.
Tramell Tillman, baby.
Tramell Tillman, who people will know from Severance, Mr. Milchick, or Seth, depending on how friendly you are with him,
Very.
and this is from Variety. He's heading over to join the cast. It is unclear who he is playing. I've seen a lot of speculation that he'll be Tombstone, that he'll be Jefferson Davis, Miles Morales' dad.
Norman. Everybody's guessing that he's Norman.
Norman. Well, see, here's the problem with. There's a couple problems with him being Norman. One, I don't know how I feel about introducing Norman Osborn with a Spider-Man that already knows an alternate universe Norman Osborn. Like, you know what I mean? It's just that's weird. And also, Coleman Domingo voices Norman Osborn on the new Spider-Man cartoon. It's like, if Coleman Domingo's on the table, that should be, Tramell Tillman's great. Coleman Domingo's, if he's already your Norman Osborn in your Marvel Studios show, just keep that. Just do that again.
I hear you, but okay, let's start here. Dreamcast him for me.
I think I'm worried that they're gonna do. He's just gonna be a teacher. He's just gonna be one of Spider-Man's professors, and I'm like, that's a waste. I think I would cast him in roles that would be weird to do. Going back to, it would be weird to do post No Way Home. I think he'd make a great Doc Ock. I think he'd make a great Kirk Connors. I think he'd make a great. He's great. He could be a great Tombstone just because he's great. That's not the direction. I don't really see him playing a Tombstone type role, but I'm hoping it's meatier than a teacher, or even just, oh, he's Miles Morales' dad. It's like, I don't care about that.
That's honestly like better case scenario than what I'm kind of concerned about, which is he's like man on the street, like only because I loved him in Mission. Obviously, everybody who listens to the show, but I'll say it in case you're new here, knows that I'm a diehard Severance fan.
Yeah.
I just went to Severance's event. I just saw him speak for an hour. I love this man. I think he's amazing. When he popped up in Mission Impossible, I was elated.
Yeah.
I was so excited about that. But he didn't have a big role in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
He did have a memorable role because he brings something to every moment he's on screen.
Yeah, because he is memorable. He makes memorable choices. Absolutely.
So I'm a little concerned because we know like the level of role that he's willing to take, or at least at that time, was that Mission Impossible role.
Yeah.
Which means that I wonder if he is not anybody in Spider-Man and we're going to see him as like shop owner or something. And he pops up for a scene and everybody's like, yay. But that would be a waste because then forever, that's what he was in the MCU.
Yep.
And then that wipes them from the whole, that's the problem with casting some of the actors we love in the MCU is like, then you can't, I guess you can recast the multiverse.
We did it before with Cersei. The actress that played Cersei was originally some Kree soldier in Captain Marvel. But by and large, you're right. Like once you're cast, you're cast. And I think the other thing is, if you've watched Severance, obviously Tramell Tillman makes a lot of interesting choices. But like if you look at the dance sequence and if you look at the season 2 finale where he's trying to a character's like in the bathroom and he's trying to break in, he's a very physical performer.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you should cast him as somebody because I want to see this guy cut loose.
Yeah.
And
not shop owner.
Not shop owner, not teacher. I mean, like you said, he'd be great if he's just like Peter's professor. He's going to kill it because he's great at it. But give him something meaty. Give him a little. And so it's like Tombstone is a little grimmer and grittier than my instincts would place him as. But again, he's talented, so I think he's going to do well. He'd be a good Norman. I mean, you got Coleman Domingo. You know, just do that. If you're going to bring Norman into the MCU. Also, man, I don't know how, with all the stuff we're talking about, how was Norman fit into this? But Norman feels like the same thing where like, oh, what if Sadie Sink's Gwen Stacy? Oh, we're just throwing stuff at the wall now. We're just guessing. We're just blind guessing.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the frustrating things about being on the internet is now the internet has convinced me that she's Gwen and he's Norman, and those are two of the biggest characters that are going to be in this movie. And ultimately, if they're not, I'm going to be a little disappointed, and that's on me. But like, I don't know that either of those things are true. So I'm just going to try to stay in reality and be excited that one of my favorite TV actors, and Liza also from The Bear, was cast in this too a while ago. But two actors that I love from television, and I feel like this is a wrong way to phrase this, but I feel like ownership over television. I'm like, oh my God, I'm the TV girl. They come from TV. I love these people. I found them. And now they're going into a huge franchise that I love, nerdy. I feel like so excited about that. So I'm just going to try to stay in that place. And same thing with Sadie, by the way.
Yep.
TV.
Yeah, we'll see. With where Sadie Sink was attached, one presumes she's a bigger role.
Right. Or at least it was announced. We don't know when they were attached.
Yeah, it's true. That's very true. But we'll see. We'll see. But I do think we all need to brace ourselves that he might just be a teacher.
Yeah. I was listening to an interview for Real Rejects. Actually we put this clip out this morning about Sean Gunn Coy interviewed Sean Gunn, and Coy was like, why did you guys, like, after it was announced that you were Maxwell Lord, why did you not tell people you were Maxwell Lord? Like, he wouldn't say it until until Superman came out. Yeah. And he was like, because it leaked. And then we didn't want to like say that's not true because it was true. But we also didn't want to say that is true because we weren't ready to announce it. So we just said nothing. And I do think that that's also interesting about these movies, right? Like, for all we know, Tramell could be huge in this and was cast 6 months ago. And this is just now when they decided that was going to come out because Severance is doing this big Emmys push right now, and his name's in the news in Emmys, and so they were like, "This is good time for press."
Yeah. In the chat, if you all want to watch live, you can do that over patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. In the chat, Leonard Kim says, "Then he'll be the best teacher. He'll be. He'll have the most withering Mr. Parker that we've ever seen on screen. It's just it'd be cool to see him be a bigger role, be a big part of it." Well, we've got a year for this movie to come out, so we'll stay tuned, everybody. Very excited to learn more.
Less than that, DJ. You said July. That is 11 months.
That's 11. Get it right. Also, while we're on the news train, a new trailer dropped for Fallout Season 2, which we are getting this year, thankfully. Because Season 1 came out last year, right, Roxy? Did it? Hold on.
Let me look.
We'll both look.
It feels like so long ago, but
it was 2024. It was April 2024. But this I'll abide, because we've complained on the show about the gaps between shows. If it's like April of one year and then December of the next year, that's still a year apart. That's still, you know what I mean? It's not, we're not waiting 2 to 3 years. It's over, yeah, but I mean, it's still like calendar, whatever. You're right, but it's not like 3 years. Like we have to wait.
Yeah, Fallout's a really big show. I think that's an acceptable gap.
Yeah, but Roxy, you just watched this trailer, and I know that you're a huge gamer, but I don't believe the Fallout game has been on your radar. You're more with the show.
I'm too big of a gamer for
You're
that.
too big of a gamer for Fallout.
Right. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows
So,
that.
so somebody that's not as familiar with the games, what did you think about the trailer?
You know, I actually, so I loved Fallout Season 1. For those of you guys who don't remember, I loved Fallout Season 1. It was a top 10 show of me, for me, I guess, of last year. Thought it was 2 years ago, but of last year. I found this trailer to be a little lackluster.
Wow.
And here's what I knew about the trailer going into it, and I think this might be where my problem is. You know, I don't really watch trailers unless it's for the show. I was on a couple other shows this week that said this trailer was amazing. People were like, this trailer is the it trailer. It's so good. So I felt like, oh, when I watch this, I'm going to feel amazing about it. But and this isn't the show's fault. There's a lot of apocalypse shows going on.
Mm-hmm.
So this just didn't stand out to me in the way that like Season 1 did with some of the characters. Like I guess I don't know what the story is at all, and I really love Ella Purnell, but I just thought this trailer was like there was nothing that stood out to me at all about it. Honestly, it was fine.
Well, I was excited about it. I also liked Fallout Season 1. I also just played Fallout New Vegas when it originally came out. I skipped over it, I guess, because it wasn't Bethesda, which is the main publisher of those games. So it felt kind of like not a knockoff, but like, one of those, not one of the mainline ones.
I remember this, DJ, because I think it was during the strikes that we did a deep dive into your Fallout.
Yeah, because I'd skipped New Vegas, and decade plus later, it's widely regarded as the best one. And then at the end of Season 1, I was like, I guess we're going to New Vegas, so I better brush up on it. So I ended up getting an old. I have a PS5, but I ended up getting an old Xbox 360 copy that I played on my Xbox One. So I had to do some like legwork to play it. And it was great. It took a little bit of adjustment because, the quality of life changes in video games. It'd been a long time. And so I had to adjust like, oh, that's right. This is how video games used to be. And it was great. And I'm glad I did, because I was actually kind of surprised at how many references to New Vegas. Obviously it's set in New Vegas, but if people that have watched the trailer, there's a scene with Ella Purnell in this giant T-Rex like monument statue thing. That's a part of the game. There's a whole sequence in the game that deals with that. There's these robots with little like screens on them that have a cowboy face. Huge part of the game. And then of course the big one is we see what is the main antagonist of the video game Fallout New Vegas, which is Mr. House, who was played by a different actor. We see a glimpse of him at the end of Season 1. He was played by a different actor. In Season 2 of Fallout, he's played by Justin Theroux.
That I was excited about. I didn't realize Justin Theroux was going to be in this season. When I saw him, I was like, oh, I love him. I mean, he's the star of one of my top 3 favorite shows of all time.
He is great. He's great casting as Mr. House. What's interesting, Roxy, is this game takes place timeline-wise after the video game New Vegas. They've said multiple times they consider the show canon. There's multiple endings you can get depending on how you play in Fallout New Vegas. Many of them. Well, I don't know. Many of them, Mr. House is no longer a factor. So it'll be interesting to see. People are wondering like, oh, which ending are they going to decide as canon? I think, based on watching the show, I think they're going to sidestep that question entirely. I think they're going to come up with an alternate answer of like, anything you could have done in the game is true, but no longer pertains to this particular situation.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. I think that's better than saying like, no, this one ending's the correct one, because it kind of saps the strength out of. Then what's the point of having multiple endings in my game if you're just going to decide which one's the true one? You know what I mean? Like, it diminishes the role play aspect of it. So I think it is better to say.
And the endings in the game are drastically different from one another.
Pretty. I'm trying to. There's so many. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they can be. Yeah, because essentially it is there's two main factions, which are the California Republic and the Legion. I want to say, is it Kaiser's Legion? And they're both kind of vying for New Vegas. And then if you're like this guy here, you're like, screw them all. I'm gonna be the one in charge. And so it's depending on how you play. It's like the New Republic could control New Vegas, or Kaiser's Legions could control New Vegas, or you could be charged in New Vegas, or Mr. House could still be in charge of New Vegas. Those are all those options. And so I think we've already found out in season 1 that the new California Republic got blowed up. And I'm trying to remember, I think it's at least a decade. I have to look at the timelines to see how long after New Vegas this takes place. But I've seen some interviews where they're basically like, hey, you know, the wasteland's a real volatile place. Things change all the time. And it's like, I think that's the right answer. Whatever you chose in New Vegas is correct. But then a bunch of nuclear bombs went off and now it doesn't matter. Like now it doesn't, now it's the game board has been reset for the show we're doing. And I do think there is enough. So again, there's multiple different versions. The way I played, Mr. House did not make it out of New Vegas. I think there are ways within the world of Fallout that you could sidestep that. Be like, yeah, you killed Mr. House, but here is a clone, or here is a, you know what I mean? Whatever. Here he is. Here's Mr. House. He's still around. Although, to be fair, I think the only times we see Mr. House in the trailer are in flashbacks. From the ghoul's point of view. So
when did we see him in the first one?
At the very last episode, we see a big meeting where they're planning out the vaults. Right. And one of the guys that is talking about, we should do this with the vaults, is Mr. House. But he's played by a different actor. I think presumably he's meant to be younger. And what's interesting here, and I've seen a lot of talk about this as well, is these changes kind of position Mr. House as not just the villain of the New Vegas game, but kind of a central figure of the entire Fallout mythology, which is interesting.
We just watched, me and you, DJ, I think you got to this episode, an amazing episode of Peacock, where Justin Theroux played a wild villain.
Oh, yeah. Of
what's it called?
Poker Face.
Poker Face, yeah. Peacock. It's on Peacock.
It's on Peacock, yeah.
Of Poker Face, where he played a wild villain. And I have actually never seen him in a role like that before.
Yeah.
And that gets me excited to see, like, him kind of work his magic here.
He'll be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be great because Mr. House is a smug piece of shit. So it'll be interesting. I think he'll do a really good job with it. I think the casting there is great. And I'm excited to see it's that. And I think this might be, Roxy, why so many people you talk to were so excited about this trailer. It tickled that little part of your brain. They're like, oh, I recognize that. Oh, yeah, I remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were so excited. And it's not that I'm not excited about this. I just am not more. This is how I gauge trailers. Am I more excited about this after watching it or before watching it? And my excitement level did not change from seeing this trailer. I'm excited, and I've been excited, and now I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm hoping this might precipitate them releasing an updated version of New Vegas. For modern systems, because I'll play it again. I'm not gonna bust out the old Xbox One again. But if you put out a updated version for new systems, I'll play that shit again before the new season. Real quick, I'd like to give a shout out to our charity of the month. Every month we like to choose a different charity to direct our wonderful audience to. This month's charity is translifeline.org. Trans Lifeline is a grassroots hotline and microgrants nonprofit organization offering direct emotional and financial support to trans people in crisis. They provide peer support for the trans community, have been divested from the police since day one, and it is run by and for trans people. So many marginalized communities are under attack right now, and that is especially true for the trans community. So if you'd like to help support trans people in crisis, I highly recommend you check out translifeline.org. Of course, it is just as vital to find ways to help support people in your specific state or your country if you're not in the United States. So be sure to check out orgs in your area and try and help reach people where they're at and meet their specific needs. Vibes are bad right now, and they're only going to get better if we put the work in specifically where we're at. Now back to the show. Time to talk about our main...
Yeah, we got to get into it, DJ.
Our main discussion this week is we finally got the premiere of season 2 for Peacemaker. right as this episode dropped, because Sam had the opportunity to see it a little bit earlier, he texted me. He was like, "What did you think of the new intro?" And I'm going to throw that to Roxy. Roxy, what did you think of the new intro song and dance number?
Okay, so a little bit about me in general. I have now had a month to sit with the new intro,
Mm-hmm.
and I have been able to see it multiple times. Um, and because of that, my answer now is very different than what my initial answer was.
I'm excited
So
about this.
my reaction on Real Rejects dropped last night to me watching the first episode, and I went back and watched, and I was like, oh, I miss our old song. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. And now I am and so I thought it was like mid, and I was like, oh, I like the first one way better. This intro has grown on me so much over the last month that it is like kind of astonishing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just being transparent about that because I was not that into it. And now I'm like, oh, especially as like I've watched more of the episodes, I've seen more of the characters that are in the intro actually in the show. Like there's some stuff that they do in the intro that I didn't pick up on that now I have picked up on.
Yeah.
So the song to me at first was kind of like not that punchy, not as much as the first one, which I think is just so truly iconic. But then I also watched interviews where they said the first one took us under a day, the second one took us 2 full days of filming just this intro. And so I
Wow.
started to be like, wow, what did they really do? So now I'm so about this intro. But if you had asked me when I just after I saw it, I would have said DJ, it's okay.
I think we're answering a question from Leonard Kim in the Discord. How are you feeling about the theme song change? He says, "I hate it. I like it, but it's the same issue you always run into with sequels. Of when I remember I turned on Peacemaker season 1 for the first time, I didn't expect that intro, and then it comes on, and you're like, this is incredible. I'm never going to skip this. This is amazing, and I never did. Every episode, I watched the whole intro, and so I still have that feeling." And so you're coming in, and now here's an extrapolation on that same concept. It evokes similar vibes. It's a different song. It's bigger. And so you're like, some of you, Roxy, I'm like, it's fine. But then as I think about it, I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to watch it every episode. And I have a feeling as the show goes on, I'm probably going to end up really liking this more. It's just your initial reaction is like, it's not the first one. It's not the.
I mean, every time when people mention what's your favorite opening themes or whatever, like, do you really want to taste it? It
Yeah.
just comes up because it's just so powerfully good and funny and quirky and fits the tone of the show. This one, da 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 da. It's even a little bit slower, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
to me, we took a major shift in season 2 from season 1 of this show tonally
Yeah.
and with what we're trying to accomplish. And this really fits that. So I'm curious to see from you guys when we touch base next week, the week after, whatever, whenever we touch base on Peacemaker again,
Yeah.
if it actually grew on you guys, because I did not think it was going to. And I was like, whoa.
So, as of this recording, we've only gotten one episode of the new season. I thought they were going to drop 2 episodes for us, but they just did one. I think that was good. I actually felt really satisfied with this first episode. It is season 2, episode 1, The Ties That Grind. Peacemaker interviews for a spot on the Justice Gang, while Harcourt struggles to find work on the heels of Adebayo's bombshell press conference. Economist is forced to surveil Peacemaker under Rick Flag Sr.'s new management. Yeah, that's what happens in the episode.
I have a question for you off the jump, DJ.
Yes.
Did you find this episode sad?
Did I find it sad? No, not really. I think for me, what's funny is that I think the reaction to that opening intro, it was kind of my reaction to the whole episode in that it is a victim of my expectations of remembering having the fond feelings I have for Peacemaker season 1, and not quite fitting immediately creating that same emotional reaction, even though it's the first episode of a new season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is true of it's something I think it's easy to forget when you have to wait so long between seasons. I mean, every once in a while, I think you'll get a show like Severance that I think like right off the bat, like, oh shit, I'm back in it. Most of the time it's like, hey, we're cleaning the rust off. We're getting it going. We're setting up new things. You know what I mean? It'll take a second to build that momentum. And I felt that even though, as I think about it, I was like, I love that. That was a really cool choice. That's really, you know what I mean? I was like, no, I liked it. I just wanted to have this immediate like euphoria thing that I'm like, I don't know that that's fair. I don't think that's a fair thing to go into a new season hoping or expecting.
How did you feel about their explanation of why Peacemaker is in the DCU?
I thought it was hilarious. I liked that they're just like, and what's funny is it's such an interesting. If you get into the weeds, and we have got a question that deals with continuity that I think I want to hold on to for a second while we're talking about the main episode. But technically, the season 1 we saw Peacemaker isn't in the DCU. It's in the original Snyder Cut universe. And what we're being told at the beginning of this season is essentially the same thing happened also in the DC universe. It's just a few things are different, and that the Justice League doesn't show up. The Justice Gang does. Some of the jokes and references are different. And I thought that it's such an audacious way. Like, don't skip over the previously on in this one, because it's kind of important for you to know, like, hey, remember that bit at the end with Aquaman and the Flash? It's Hawk Girl and Green Lantern now. That's kind of fucking funny to me. I think that's kind of hilarious. And I think there was an expectation of like, for some of the marketing is like, oh, multiverse. And like, okay, so this is how this Peacemaker is going to get over in this universe. And like, no, that's not what this is. He's just here. He's just here now. Get over it. Okay, I could do that.
Yeah, totally. I'm with you.
What do you think this? How often do you think they're going to pull that on us? Like, by the way, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn's here too. She's part of it. Get over it.
I know a little more than you know about that.
Oh,
so I'm not talking about specifically Harley Quinn, but how often are they going to do that? They are going to do that.
Yeah.
So I would say I don't know about how often, but a little bit more than you do, and it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Like, wait for certain things in the episodes. I am really, really grateful that we didn't harp on it too long.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, okay, so here's what happened.
Yeah.
Here's how we got it. It was just like previously on. Mm-hmm. I'm also curious because I haven't gone back to see season 1. Did they change season 1?
I don't believe so. Although when I started rewatching it because my hours were so weird when my son was first born. I was just watching like random shit at 3 a.m, and so I started rewatching Peacemaker, but I didn't finish it. And so obviously that was almost a year ago at this point. So they wouldn't have changed it then.
Right now, I'm just saying now, have they swapped that scene out?
That'd be so funny. That'd be so funny. I kind of like that. Just like we're rolling with it. We're Peacemakers in this universe now. It reminds me of my favorite version of something along these lines is in Interview with a Vampire season 2. I can't remember the character's name, but because you saw the movie, Kristen Dunst's character in the movie, right? The little girl that becomes a vampire.
Yep.
They had one actress in season 1, and then they recast her in season 2. And so season 2 opens with a card of the part of this character will now be played by this actress. And we go on. I'm like, perfect. I don't need you.
Yeah, it's like a play.
Yeah, I don't need you to justify it. It's a TV show. Sometimes roles change, and we're just moving on.
Yeah, totally. So I thought that was perfect. I did, going back to my original question to you, DJ, I shall answer it myself. I did find this episode to be very upsetting.
Yes.
The treatment of Peacemaker was really upsetting to me.
Mm-hmm. In general, or specifically in the Justice Gang interview?
Specifically in the Justice Gang interview, but then like also in trying to be somebody who's changing your ways and just like not getting the credit or respect that you deserve. And I don't even know that he deserves it because clearly he's done some whatever, but like that you feel you deserve at least.
Yes.
And then the Justice Gang interview and the whole thing, it just was like, as he's trying to sit there and open up, like, my brother was killed, my dad, and they're just talking about random stuff. I felt so bad for him. And then, like, I just remembered I legitimately care about this character.
Yes.
Like, he's not a joke to me.
Yeah.
I really, really care about Peacemaker. Not only do I really, really care about Peacemaker, but I really, really care about Hardcore. I really, really care about Adebayo. Aquanimous. Like, I genuinely care about the characters on this show, which is and straight up I care about Owl Lover Adrian Chase. Like
Yeah.
I love these characters. So it was interesting to me that I really felt like defensive over him when they were talking crap about him, and I was like, "You leave my Peacemaker alone," which is
The
good, a
interesting,
good sign.
yeah, the interesting thing about that scene is it's a crafty bit of exposition dump of like, hey, by the way, remember these facts. The fact that he had a brother that died, that's important to remember for
Right.
things we're going to show you later. I
And
also
also not just important to remember, but we changed some stuff about last season, but mostly it's the same, just as a
mostly,
reminder.
yeah. Mostly it's the same. And I like the other little touch of that Maxwell Lord's actually genuinely upset to find out that they've been hearing the bullshit. He's not like, whatever, I don't care about these people. He's like, oh, fuck. I was
How
like,
many
that's
times
it.
did I reference her camel toe?
Yeah. That's you guys are assholes, but they're not. You know, he wants to be professional a little bit. I guess is
Yeah.
an interesting little wrinkle.
Well,
One of
obviously, also he's the money behind this. It's his
Yeah.
name on the line. So
yeah. So a lot. Again, I thought this episode was a little like, you know, we're coming off of Peacemaker season 1. We're coming off of Superman. This episode's written and directed by James Gunn. You know, there's a lot of expectation there. And I don't know that it entirely lived up to my expectations. That said, there's a lot I really, really liked about the episode. One of my favorite things, the more I thought about it, I'm like, this is such a cool idea. So in season 1, we're introduced to Peacemaker's dad has his own little the equivalent of a woodshed that is an extra dimensional little portal out back in a secret room. And I love the idea that that's not his. It's just a space that multiple beings throughout the multiverse use as like their garage. It's like a WeWorks. It's an extra dimensional WeWork. And so we see this little like alien dude nuke a cat or whatever in an alien cat. And that's so fucking funny to me. That concept is so funny.
It is so good. And one thing I will say about him is I want to know more.
Of course. What is his deal? I want to know, dude, the fact that Peacemaker didn't go like poking around, like what else is in here? Like who else? And of course, the setup for this episode is he finds out that the Eagly leads to another door that leads to an alternate dimension that has the same password key code because it is an alternate dimension of Peacemaker where his brother's still alive and his father's still alive and not as much of an asshole. Although my theory watching it, because we spent a lot of time in the previous on DCU reminding you, by the way, White Dragon was racist and he was raising Chris to be racist. And we spent a lot of time on that. I have a feeling that even though things seem peachy keen in that alternate Earth, there's a good chance that even though what are they, the Terrific Trio or whatever, they're the very beloved, they might still be racist over in that universe.
I won't speak to that, but I will say that while I was watching this episode, the imp conversation made me feel uncomfortable. I was like,
yeah.
Is this in your universe? Is this PC?
Yeah.
Not PC. Like,
yeah. How do we feel about imps in your universe?
Yeah, like, are we prejudiced or are we not? But I think it's an interesting theory by you. This part of the episode also made me incredibly sad, DJ, because I think that one of the things that this show has just decided to do this season is really explore nature versus nurture.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the way you are because of how you were born? Or are you the way you are because of your circumstances? Or are you the way you are because of the choices that you make? Is it a combination of those things? Yeah. And watching this episode and seeing the love that Peacemaker's brother clearly has for him in this.
Yes.
And his father too, but mostly the brother bond, because we got to see him with his father in our world. We never got to see him with his brother as an adult.
Yeah.
Was very, very upsetting to me because while past trauma doesn't ever justify your actions, it does often explain them. And like, look at this relationship, at least at this point in the show, that he could have had. And like this is the episode where when his brother's walking out, he stops him to say something to him, right?
Yeah. He says, "I love you," and the brother's like, "Fuck you, dude. I love you too." And then leaves.
Yeah, his brother's like, "You're drunk. I love you," or whatever he says. Yeah. Like, and I just thought to myself, like, that one person in your life can change your entire life. can
Yeah.
change your entire life and who you are and how you act and what you do and how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
And how you present to the world. So, man, this really got to me too. I'm feeling very protective over Peacemaker, and like the loss, the passing of a sibling. I cannot imagine. I cannot.
Yeah.
So I thought they did a great job of showing that, and I also really love this actor.
Yes.
And I think that the casting of them as brothers is like so spot on. So watching the first episode, I felt leaving it like I need to know more about the sibling dynamic.
Well, good news. Bad news for that world's Peacemaker. I'm not going to spoil it here because the episode just dropped, but it was one of those things that when it happened, I was like, I figured this was going to happen. I didn't think it happened right now. I didn't think
You're not going to spoiler it. I thought we were full spoilers.
We'll do full spoilers. Let's just say alternate Earth Peacemaker is not too excited to find our Peacemaker in his home. A fight breaks out that does not go great for the alternate Earth Peacemaker. Yeah. At first it looks like it's going his way, and it then ends up not. It ends up not.
It's so aggressive.
Well, and that's what makes me think of like, well, and of course, like, there's no arc if it's just like, no, this Earth is fine, it's perfect, everything's great. In fact, your life does suck. Actually, it really sucks. Everything on your world sucks, and this one's great. Too bad for you. I have a feeling that it's like, well, because we found out he was with Harcourt, but now Harcourt's his ex in that universe. There's the hint where it's like, yeah, he's like, now she's with that Jarhead. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's going to be a specific Jarhead, if that's going to pay off in a specific way.
Any theories?
No, I mean, the only Jarhead I can think of would be Jon Stewart, which we have cast him in the Lantern show. This would be a weird way to introduce him to our audience as an alternate universe version of this character. But I'm into it. I'm excited. The last thing I wanted to mention is there's a very pointed, and we circle back to it on the post-credit scene, a pointed dig at 30 Seconds to Mars, which feels specific. Feels like a specific...
Hysterical.
Yeah.
Hysterical. I wonder if that got back to Jared Leto.
And you wonder, is he thin-skinned enough to care?
Right.
Could just be like, man, go back to the cult you lead and be chill about it. But these guys tend to be a little... I just think...
I thought it was funny as hell.
I think it's a flag planted of like, hey, we're going to have a different Joker in this universe.
Very clearly, they were like, okay, we might be pulling in some people, but no.
Which is the right call. I agree with that. So we're going to end with Clementine in the Discord watching people trying to untangle the continuity of Peacemaker with how it seems to exist across two different DCUs. It's got me thinking, is it time to loosen our grip on continuity and canon? Should the characters get up to whatever they may in their own shows / movies? And if they cross over, we don't try too hard to justify how and when. How does this make you feel about continuity, Roxy?
No, that is not the lesson that I learned from this. I think continuity is extremely important. As a TV fan, one of the reasons I'm a TV fan is because you get to live with people for so long.
Yeah.
And, like Sex and the City spinoff, and just like that, just said like goodbye to continuity. They killed off somebody's dad twice. They like just did not care anymore. And it was detrimental to the characters and to the viewer who has put in decades of their life experiencing something just to be like, what the actual F, guys? So no, the lesson here was not continuity doesn't matter. However, I actually feel like this was less of a continuity thing and more of like this is the situation that we're in, so we're going to just briefly explain this. And it's going to have to be good enough. And I like that they did that. This didn't feel like a message that we should always do this. It just felt like this is the start of our universe, but we're doing this thing where we're bringing Peacemaker in, so we have to explain this really quick.
It'd be so funny if they just did a one-off gag where this Peacemaker meets the Peacemaker from season 1 that exists in the Snyderverse, and he's great. He ended up joining the Justice League with Henry Cavill and is hanging out with Aquaman, and he's having a great life. What are you talking about? I think to Roxy's point, I think continuity within So like nothing in Peacemaker season, I guess it technically does break continuity with season 1, but like the continuity of each individual silo matters. So to Roxy's point of like killing off a guy's dad in your one show twice, like, well, come on, man.
It's like, come on, you didn't need to do that.
But continuity between, I'll say it this way. If they were to say, listen, Matt Reeves, Batman with Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson is going to be our Batman in our Justice League. And does that mean everything in the Matt Reeves movies is canon? Maybe, but we're not gonna sweat that shit. We're gonna let Matt Reeves do whatever he wants, and we're gonna do our own thing. The same actors playing Batman. In your brain, it could be canon. In Matt Reeves' brain, it could not be canon, and that doesn't matter. I think there is room, and maybe that's just the comic reader in me, where it's just like, yeah, man, you know, why doesn't Captain America show up when Matt Murdock is being charged with a crime and sent to prison as Daredevil? Because it's a Daredevil story, and Captain America's, it's not a Captain America story. Like there's it doesn't matter. Like why in No Man's Land, why isn't Superman coming in to help Gotham when a big earthquake wrecked Gotham and now it's all Batman's thing? Because it's a Batman book. I don't know what to tell you. Like I think this is an example of that. I think it's a little bit of a balancing act. And it's kind of like you kind of pick and choose what matters and don't get so hung up on some of the specifics. Loosen the reins a little bit and kind of like let stuff play out. Like right now it seems like Jaime Reyes' Blue Beetle is going to be a big part of the DCU. Does that mean everything in the Blue Beetle movies canon? Who knows? It doesn't matter.
Right.
We're going to just move on.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Roxy, remind the kids at home where they can find what you're working on.
You guys can find me everywhere at Roxy Stryer, and then Wednesdays and Sundays on my YouTube, youtube.com/Roxy Stryer.
You can find me, links in the description for all that down below, by the way. You can find me at DJ Talks Trash on my personal channel. You can find stuff like Retroversity, where Sal and I are going through the previous DCU movies. We just did the 2016 Suicide Squad. We're going to be doing Wonder Woman soon. I also just dropped, as a preview, an episode we did covering Superman, the animated series, which we're doing on Patreon. If you want to check episodes like this early, watch them live, check out Patreon exclusive content like what we're into or Krypton Academy, you can do that over at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.